All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to explore the science behind why our brains get so easily stuck on negative thoughts. And, the really important part, what we can actually do about it. So let's start with something I think we've all felt. Have you ever had one of those days where everything is going great, people are saying nice things, but then one little insult, one tiny piece of criticism just completely hijacks your brain? Why does the bad stuff always seem to feel so much louder than the good? Well, there's actually a name for this. It's called the negativity bias. It's this built-in default setting in our brains that makes us not only notice negative things more easily, but also chew on them, just letting them replay over and over again. I love this way of thinking about it. Our brain is basically like Velcro for all the bad experiences. Insults, criticism, bad news, it all just sticks. But for the good stuff, the compliments, the positive moments, it's more like Teflon. They just slide right off unless we make a real, conscious effort to grab onto them. So, why on earth are we wired like this? I mean, it seems like a terrible design flaw, right? Well, not exactly. To really get it, we have to hop in a time machine and go way, way back to see how this bias actually kept our species alive. So let's paint a picture. Imagine two of our ancestors just kind of wandering the savannah, and all of a sudden they come across an animal they've never seen before. So what happens next? Well, the first ancestor, the optimist, is full of curiosity. He thinks, wow, cool, and goes to check it out. And yeah, he becomes lunch. But the second ancestor, the pessimist, his brain just screams, danger, threat, run! So he takes off. He survives. The outcome is pretty simple. The cautious, anxious genes are the ones that get passed down. It was basically survival of the wariest. And that right there is the whole point. For pretty much all of human history, expecting the worst wasn't a bug in the system. It was the most important feature. It was an absolutely crucial survival strategy. In a world full of real, physical threats, focusing on the lion in the grass instead of the pretty flowers was what kept you alive to see another day. But here's the catch. That same ancient programming that was so useful out on the savannah, well, it causes some serious glitches in our modern world. Today, it creates these really unhelpful and honestly pretty painful mental cycles. And this is what that cycle looks like in action. It all starts with a trigger. Say you make a small mistake at work. Instantly, an automatic negative thought pops up. Something like, I am so incompetent. That thought then kicks off a negative emotion, anxiety, maybe some shame. And then those feelings drive your behavior. So maybe you start avoiding new tasks, which only ends up reinforcing that original belief that you're incompetent. You see, it's a vicious loop. Now, these cycles get their power from what psychologists call cognitive distortions, or you can just think of them as common thinking traps. Things like catastrophizing, where you get a weird text and your brain immediately jumps to, they must be in a car crash. Or mental filtering, where you get 10 pieces of positive feedback but you fixate on the one tiny criticism. These are the modern-day lions our brains are constantly scanning the horizon for. Okay, so is that it? Are we just stuck with this ancient, anxious brain? The answer, and this is the best part, is absolutely not. Our brains are way more adaptable than you might think. This is probably the single most important idea to really let sink in. Your brain is not fixed. It's not set in stone. Those well-worn paths that your negative thoughts travel down, they are not permanent highways. And it's all thanks to this incredible process called neuroplasticity. It's literally the brain's ability to change itself, to build new connections. So every single time you challenge a negative thought or you choose to focus on a positive one, you are physically building new, healthier neural pathways. You are weakening the old ones. You can literally rewire your own brain. So how do we actually do it? How do we go from knowing this to actually putting it into practice? Let's look at some really powerful, practical tools you can start using like today. A fantastic technique, which is super simple, is called the catch it, check it, change it method. First, you catch it. Just notice, there's that automatic negative thought again. Then you check it. You take a step back and ask, wait a minute, is this thought actually 100% true? Is there any other way to look at this? And finally, you change it. You consciously reframe the thought into something more balanced, more realistic. And there's some really cool science that shows why this works. When we focus on problems and fears, we trigger our fight or flight system, which makes our thinking really narrow and rigid. But when we focus on a positive vision, on possibilities, we activate a totally different system, our rest and digest response, which literally opens our minds up to be more creative and flexible. So this all brings us to the final and I think the most empowering takeaway here. It's really about making a conscious choice in how we see things. I love this quote from Dr. Richard Boyatzis because it just sums it all up perfectly. Your negativity bias isn't some flaw you need to get rid of. It's an outdated survival tool. We can thank it for getting our species to this point, and then we can consciously choose to manage it so it doesn't get to run the whole show anymore. By consciously choosing our focus, by practicing these tools, we can move from a brain that's just wired to survive to a brain that is empowered to truly thrive. So, I'll leave you with this question. What's one automatic negative thought you can catch, check, and change today?